Oh man, we are less than a week away from finally being able to hold this weapon in D2. I'm pretty sure everyone is very excited about Last Word. Now I want to go into details of what kind of hand cannon Last Word was back in D1, including its perks, but even beyond that, what its archetype was, its rounds per minute, and how that'll transition inside of Destiny 2. So first up guys, back then in Destiny 1, we didn't have like rate of fire in terms of rounds per minute. We just had a numerical value. So for something like Last Word, it had a 32 rate of fire. Water Star, which is also in the same archetype, also had a 32 rate of fire. Essentially, that just equated to being 150 rounds per minute. But despite Last Word being in the weapon archetype of 150s, it obviously did not perform like other 150s. Essentially, the intrinsic perk there, Fanfire, allowed Last Word to actually push all the way up to 225 rounds per minute. Now this is important because Destiny 2 we're getting it as a 180 round per minute hand cannon. So considering that, if we were to do some math right there, Last Word could potentially be a 250 round per minute hand cannon inside of Destiny 2. Of course, that's purely speculation. We won't know that until we're actually shooting the weapon ourselves. Now let's talk about the perks real quick on Last Word. Again, intrinsically, it comes with the Fanfire perk, which means the weapon can be fired quickly and continuously, essentially allowing the weapon to be a full auto hand cannon. It also comes with hip fire, essentially just allowing us to have better accuracy when firing from the hip. Now the exotic trait itself, Last Word, improves stability and target acquisition when firing from the hip. So as you can see there guys, the Fanfire exotic perk here on Last Word kind of just merges those things together, right? They merge that Fanfire perk and that Last Word perk together. Now something that's going to be very interesting is how the Destiny 2 version of Last Word is going to perform, because we don't have the options that we had back in Destiny 1. As you see here guys, we're missing out on a lot of different barrel options, as well as that entire middle column, which really changed the playstyle up for a lot of people. Me personally, I always rock things like soft ballistics. It did keep my impact at 68, but I would have rocked that with perfect balance and essentially raised my stability up to 51. Granted, my range stat there was still at 8. Now there was other people that went even crazier with it. They would rock aggressive ballistics with high caliber rounds, elevating that impact a little higher. And back in D1 year 1, aggressive ballistics was the way to go. Now one thing I do want to point out, number one, the range stat for the D2 version is 28, which is much higher than what we have here with our D1 version. The stability, despite there not being anything here aiding the stability, no perfect balance I'm throwing on it, we just simply have corkscrew rifling. So the stats here are really not bad at all. So let's talk about time to kill. Time to kill back in Destiny 1 for Last Word, if you could 3-tap, was 0.53 seconds. Cook it, baby. I mean, it was nasty. Now granted, Last Word also hit much harder, essentially hitting 50 per body and 75 per crit. The gun also had a really good body shot time to kill at 0.8 seconds. So overall, Last Word was still good, but it was getting plagued with a lot of things. Like up close is the only place that it could really perform. You could pop some shots off into people in the mid-range, but it was not consistent. Now, what we're going to be looking at in D2 is the weapon's going to be hitting 57 per crit. So just like other 180s. Now, as far as what we've seen in the perks themselves, nothing is increasing the damage of our Last Word in terms of its hip fire damage. So we're assuming that Last Word is going to be hitting 57 per crit and 39 per body, the same as other 180 round per minute hand cannons. Now, if Last Word comes back and it is shooting, say at 225 rounds per minute, you could see us have an optimal time to kill of 0.8 seconds. Now, I know that's not that impressive, which is why I don't think it's gonna be 225 rounds per minute. I think it's gonna go even beyond that. And I know we're getting into a point where it's like, wow, the rate of fire, that just seems like it's too fast. So with that plus 75 added to that 180, we're looking at 255 rounds per minute, which brings our time to kill value down to 0.71. Again, still not better than something like Not Forgotten and Luna's Howl, but very, very close. I mean, right on top of it. The problem is the rate of fire is obviously going to be very, very fast. Think of it like a Black Scorpion, but as a hand cannon. Hopefully the stats here that we have here on Last Word, the stability stat, and also the fact that it's going to have a recoil direction of 100 and be kind of in the same archetype as other 180s is going to allow Last Word to still be consistent and not just jump straight out of our hands. So guys, that is your pre-review of the Last Word. Now, I don't think Last Word is going to suck at all in Destiny 2. I've seen a lot of people already saying that because it is a 180 round per minute hand cannon. But like I said, guys, even back in D1, Last Word was considered a 150 round per minute hand cannon, but you saw how much it exceeded that rate of fire. Well, fellas and ladies, thank you all for coming and watching, and as always,
slap that like button like your mama told you right.